All right. Well, we're going to be getting this morning with a Fox News alert.
President Trump ordering the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action in Nigeria if the country fails to crack down on the mass killing of Christians.
Rebecca Castor joins us live from Washington, D.C. with those details. Rebecca, good morning. Rachel, good morning. Yeah, President Trump is not mincing words here. This is what he said on Truth Social yesterday. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into the now disgraced country at guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible attack. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth
got the message and says the Department of War is preparing for action. The response comes
as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria has reached crisis levels. Islamist militants have burned down churches and Christian schools. And international civil rights groups estimate more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country since 2009. But the president of Nigeria claims the reports of violence are misleading and says on X the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. And our administration is committed to working with the United States government and international community to deepen understanding and cooperation of communities of all faiths. President Trump also recently redesignated Nigeria as a country of concern after former President Biden removed it from the list in 2021. Rachel, Charlie, and Griff, back to you.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Well, it's really hard to tell what's going on. We understand that they are Muslim rebels of sorts. There's all kinds of unrest in these countries, and it's not
just in Nigeria. It's in Sudan. It's in Chad. It's in the Congo. I mean, it's all over Africa. And, it's out of control. And it is very targeted at Christians. You look at that number in just one country, 50,000. And then he says, well, there's no targeted attack. It's kind of crazy. But we've been hearing this from, groups like Boko Haram since the Obama days. Remember when they kidnapped those girls and there was this whole campaign to bring back the girls? And many of those girls are still in captivity. This is a gentleman named Paul Adamu. He is Nigerian. He is a Christian, and he was kidnapped by Boko Haram. And this is what he had to say in an op-ed with Fox News recently. He said, "These are not random acts of violence. They are systematic, coordinated attempts to erase Christian communities from the region. As someone who has walked through the burned villages and prayed with survivors, I can tell you the reality is even worse than the statistics suggest. The United States and other Western nations cannot look away. They have both the moral obligation and the diplomatic tools to press Nigeria towards real accountability." By the way, he is also going to be on our show later on today, and we'll hear from him directly.
And, the thing that I love about that, the tweet, the message by President Trump is that, we talked last week about the done row doctrine, how President Trump is concerned more about his own backyard, which is way smarter than gallivanting all around the world. But the other thing is you can use that pulpit as a way to put your foot down and scare the living bejesus out of foreign countries where they are doing things like this.
Yes.
And it's part of the anything is possible doctrine, or the daddy's home doctrine, where people are actually afraid. They recognize he really will make good on all of his promises. And that tends to sort of inspire peace, and we've seen it around the world.
I love the way you said earlier when we were talking about this before the show started. I said, well, I think all the actors in there are bad. I mean, these are factions, military factions fighting against each other, and these civilians are sort of caught in it. And Charlie said, well, that's what President Trump does. He just says, knock it off, or I'm coming up there. Don't
make me come upstairs.
It's a great point, but the important part about it is we are seeing President Trump's peace through strength in action, because there's soft power, the trade that has gotten so much accomplishments, but then there's a hard power, and that's the threat of guns ablazing. And look, if he does go guns ablazing, it's going to be a limited strike, precision. It's not going to be some starting a war. We've seen this before. He's done that. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Nigeria is on notice now. And I went this morning to the United Nations Twitter feed. I'm like, I wonder if there's anything about Nigeria, about Christians. Nothing. You can find condemnation of the drug boats being taken out in the Caribbean by the UN, but you won't see that. Very interesting
That's
thing.
very fascinating,
Yeah,
actually.
I'll keep watching. I'll bring it to our viewers if we see it.
You might be the only one on the UN, on the UN Twitter handle.
You can follow the UN for the rest of us.
It's because this is what they're supposed to do,
No,
and yet they're so absent.